It is so simple to transform plain old mason jars into stunning decor pieces with just a little bit of creativity. Give old mason jars a fresh new look with this easy DIY. In this video, I'm transforming a plain mason jar into an adorable bank. Hi, I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc., and welcome to my channel. If you're ready, my friends, grab your supplies and let's make a really big mess. The first thing I'm doing is wiping this piece with an alcohol wipe. This will remove any dirt, debris, or fingerprints. You want a nice clean surface to start off with. I'm going to brush on Polyvine's multi-surface lacquer in a dead flat finish. This is a great primer for any shiny surface, such as glass, plastic, or ceramic. I'm using the dead flat finish because I want to remove the shine. This will give paint or decoupage glue a great surface to adhere to. Paint won't chip, scratch, or peel. For best results, I'm going to let this dry overnight. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. I'm going to give this jar a coat of white paint. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Cotton. This paint goes on so smooth and creamy and is a great base for decoupaging. Make sure you always paint white or a very light off-white wherever you're going to decoupage rice paper or a napkin. White allows the colors in your images to look more vibrant. Dark colors will make your images look dark and muddy. Notice that I'm not painting the threads of this jar. I'm going to add a slotted lid, and paint on the threads will interfere with the lid screwing on properly. The threads need to be free of any paint or varnish. I just love this rice paper. It has 4 designs on it, and I'm going to use the castle. It's perfect for what I have in mind for this little bank. I'm using a water brush to get my paper prepped. A water brush has a cartridge that you fill with water and then brush it on the napkin or rice paper. The water dispenses easily, so this is really convenient. You can find this in my description box below in my favorite tools section, just in case you want to check it out. I had to cut the image from the sheet because the pictures were so close together. But now I'm tearing the rice paper all the way around to remove all those sharp cut edges. You always want to tear your rice paper or napkin instead of cutting it. A torn edge is much easier to blend than a sharp cut edge. The image was a little bit too big, so I tore some off the bottom because I wanted to make sure to be able to see the top of that pretty castle. I decided to sacrifice some off the bottom rather than the top. The jar is rounded at the top and bottom. The way to get your paper to lay flat is to put some little tears along the edge at the top and the bottom of your paper. I'm using Polyvine's Decorator's Varnish as my decoupage adhesive today. You can use this product as a varnish and an adhesive. All the Polyvine formulas can double as a decoupage adhesive. It works so much better than the most popular brand of decoupage glue. It's not a glue, so it doesn't go on thick and lumpy. It's a varnish, so it dries crystal clear and will never yellow. I'm going to spray my rice paper with a little bit of water before adding it to my jar. This makes the paper more pliable and easier to work with. It also helps the adhesive seep into the paper, creating a great bond. Because of the tears I put in the paper at the top and bottom, the pieces will overlap instead of causing a wrinkle. My crafty friends Anne-Marie N. requested to see how to decoupage on a curved surface. Harmony from Utah and Katarina K. requested a mason jar project. Ladies, this video is for you. I'm painting the remainder of the jar a dark tan. I'm using a sponge dauber because sponging the paint gives you a little bit of texture. I'm being careful to get right up to the rice paper, but not get any of the paint on the rice paper. And again, I'm being careful not to get any paint on the threads of the jar. I love the edge to this rice paper. It has some swirly designs on it. I'm going to use this to cover up where the paint meets the rice paper. I want this to have a nice sharp edge, so I'm cutting it with scissors. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. I'm mixing up some paint that I want to come close to this dark blue in the paper. I'm mixing up a combination of Pentart paints in country blue, turquoise blue, and pine green. It wasn't dark enough, so I added some dark blue and black. It's not exact, but the color has the same tone and blends nicely with the colors in the rice paper. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of polyvine products. Over 9,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. You'll receive free shipping on orders over $75 and special bonus points for orders over $100. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below. Now I'm adding some texture paste to that paint. I would say I added about 1.5 teaspoons to my paint mixture. And I'm making sure it's well mixed. Texture paste makes your paint really thick and it will dry stiff, so there are all kinds of things you can do with this. We're going to have some fun with stencils. I've had this stencil in my stash for so long, I have no clue where I even got it. I sprayed the back of it with Pixie repositionable stencil adhesive. This will help eliminate bleeding under the stencil. I'm laying it on the jar and taping it down as well. I don't want it to slip around. After spraying your stencil, let it dry for about 15 minutes. I'm smearing the mixture over my stencil with a palette knife. I'm lightly scraping off some of the excess and then carefully removing the stencil. As soon as you remove the stencil, you need to clean it with soap and water. If this dries on your stencil, it will ruin it. Make sure you clean it out of all the corners and cracks. I use Speedball pink soap to clean all my brushes and stencils. It removes paint you didn't even realize was still in your brush. I'll leave a link in my description box below in case you'd like to check it out. You won't be able to wash the Pixie spray off the back of your stencil with the soap and water. I'm always going to use it on my stencils, so I just leave it on there. It loses most of its stick, so you will need to reapply it the next time you use your stencil. I let it dry for about an hour and then lightly press down any sharp peaks. When you're lifting your stencils, sometimes it'll cause some peaks in the material, kind of like meringue. This is a designer mold from DecoupageNapkins.com. It's made by Redesign and is a very high quality mold. I love this because it has a bunch of animals dressed up like royalty, which is why I chose the castle picture. There's a dog, a couple of cats, a lion, a deer, and a rabbit. I'm going to be molding the dog. I'm using DOS clay, which is one of my favorite clays. I'm pressing it into the mold and scraping off the excess clay with a palette knife. I'm smoothing it out with a little water and now into the freezer for 20 minutes. I'm also making some trim for around the neck of the bottle. If you want to see an in-depth video on how to work with air dry clay, click the banner in the top right corner of your screen. I'll also leave you a link for that video in my description box below. Right from the freezer, watch how easily they just pop out of the mold. This mold has such incredible detail, and freezing your clay helps keep all that detail. I'm going to use Aleene's tacky glue to attach my clay pieces to the bank while the clay is still wet. I find that this glue works well with wet clay. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. You won't want to miss any of the new projects coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. The clay trim didn't go all the way around, so I had to make a small piece to fit in. I ended up making some little ivy leaves to put in the back. I thought it was looking a little bare. I put them in different directions and overlapped some of them to get a little realism. I cut a couple of the leaves and made them a little smaller for the front of the jar. I let all my clay dry overnight, and now it's time to paint everything. I'm starting off painting all the ivy Pentart Pine Green. I normally start off painting the largest part of the embellishment and then going around the edges for all the detail work. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I use a lot of Dixie Belle and Pentart paints. These are my absolute favorites. They both go on super smooth and creamy with really good coverage. I rarely, if ever, need a second coat of Pentart, and that goes for the metallic colors as well. Pentart's beautiful gold on the trim around the neck. Watch how I'm only putting one coat on. This is the only metallic paint I've ever used that is so pigmented that you can get away with one coat. Pentart Country Blue for the little dog's coat. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. Dark sand for the dog. Navy blue for his hat and trim on the coat. And that beautiful gold for the epaulettes on his shoulders. I thought this would be some fun trivia. Before the 20th century, epaulettes and shoulder straps were common devices to signal rank. Epaulettes, from the word épaule, is an old French word for shoulder. So this must be a high-ranking little doggy. I'm giving this jar a bunch of little finishing touches now. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue pen to add some bronze ball chain, separating the picture from the back of the jar. The chain will add just a little bit of depth. I'm using some yellow paint to dry brush on all the ivy. I'm getting just a little bit of paint on my brush and then wiping it off on the edge of the bottle. Then I'm wiping my brush on a paper towel. It's literally almost dry. I'm just lightly dragging the edge of my brush over the leaves. It's highlighting all the detail from the mold and making the ivy look really pretty. I'm going to add a crackle finish to just the decoupaged rice paper. I want the picture to look vintage. I'm using Pentart's Fine Line Crackle Varnish. It's a two-part system and I'm brushing on component number 1. I'll let that dry for about an hour or so until it's clear. This particular crackle system gives you a very old cracked porcelain appearance. Anything you put it on looks so vintage. Now that it's dry, I'll brush on component number 2. This step is an amber color. Use thin, even strokes. If you get a buildup or drips anywhere, it'll show when dry. I'll let this dry for a couple of hours. Once dry, you'll see the cracks. I let component 2 dry for a few hours, and now I'm adding a solvent-based top coat to the rest of the jar, including the trim, dog, and ivy. I'm going to be doing some antiquing, and you need to have a gloss finish before antiquing. Where I put the fine line crackle is already glossy, so I'm not putting any there at this time. I'm using a solvent-based varnish because of the fine line crackle. You can't get anything water-based on it, so I'm just using this solvent-based product on the entire jar to be safe. Okay, let's antique and bring this jar to life. I have some amazing cracks now, and I'm going to add some antiquing so you can see them. I'm using Pentart Antique Paste. It's solvent-based, so it's safe to put over fine line crackle. I'm rubbing it into all the cracks and then wiping it off with a soft, dry cloth. Make sure you do not use a wet wipe. I'm using a brush to get into some of the tight areas, like between and under the leaves and trim, but I'm still wiping off the excess. Antiquing adds such depth and dimension to your project. It takes it from flat to 3D. It also adds a vintage look, which I just love. When you antique over your molded clay, all the details from the mold stand out, like the dog, trim, and leaves. The gloss varnish makes all of this possible. You're able to add the antiquing and have it wipe off the surface, yet stay in all the cracks and crevices. If you didn't add a gloss first, the paint would grab onto the antique paste and you wouldn't be able to wipe any of it off. I'm working on some great spring projects right now. A lot of them are requests that I'm excited to be making. I love planning projects around your requests. Just please be patient. I get quite a few of them, and I get the projects out as quickly as I can. I love hearing about what you'd like to see, so keep those requests coming. The turquoise item that you're seeing me use is called a cup cradle. It's made from silicone and I rely on it a lot. I use this anytime I'm working on something round. It keeps my piece from rolling away from me. I get a lot of people asking me what it is. There'll be a link in my description box below, just in case you want to check it out. I let the antique paste dry overnight, and now I'm giving the entire jar 2 coats of the solvent-based varnish. I'm using Winsor & Newton Artist Gloss Varnish. I let it dry for several hours after the first coat, and then added 1 more for maximum protection. This is a solvent-based varnish, which means you'll need to clean your brush with mineral spirits, not soap and water. The Polyvine Multi-Surface Lacquer and Decorator's Varnish are both water-based products and will clean up with soap and water. I'm going to jazz up this jar a little bit. I'm using Decor Wax Rub in the color Eternal, which is gold. I'm putting some on my finger and rubbing it with my thumb to keep from getting a lot of product in one area. I'm delicately rubbing it over the raised areas from the mold on the hat and jacket trim, as well as his epaulettes. I'm adding a little bit of it to the gold trim and leaves. It will brighten up the trim and add some highlights to the leaves. The slotted coin lid is silver, and I just cannot have that. So I'm adding some of the gold rub all over the lid as well. I'm going to let all of that dry for several hours. If you go to purchase this and it says out of stock, just click the notify me button and you'll get an email just as soon as it comes in. If you don't want to wait for it to come back in stock, you can purchase Gilder's Wax as a replacement. I'll leave links for both. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. I added the coin slot lid to my jar and buffed it a little bit with a soft cloth to shine it up. It looked a little plain, so I added a navy blue satin ribbon to the lid. I put together a playlist of some other tutorials you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that playlist. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.